Okay, so recently I've watched an interview from Valentin Blanc, which is basically the strongest plancher in the world, and he said this.
Obsession is just the fuel of your car. But if you have fuel but you don't have a car, you will go nowhere, bro.
And so this is what we'll take as a starting point. We could see that the fuel is indeed what we input in the car in order to achieve our goals. And it seems quite logic, but if your car is looking like this and you can have the biggest obsession, the biggest fuel in the world, you won't achieve your goal. And what most people are doing is that they fuel their car that is not really functioning, that is self-fueling themselves. It makes them feel better. It makes them feel that they are progressing. But the reality is that no matter how big your obsession can be, no matter how big you can make it grow, if you do not have a functioning car, a vehicle to attain your goal, you won't go anywhere. And so let's see how we can qualify this. And for today, I decided to qualify the car as potential. My bad. Potential. And so this is what I'll break down today, what the potential is. And spoiler, it's not only genetic. So let's just begin with the physical potential. Your physical potential today is basically your body genetic, your height, your structure and lever, whether your arms are long. It will have an influence on how you will be most likely to learn fast or long a skill, how you will be able to develop strength and endurance on it, your fibers in muscles, and most importantly to me, the nervous system recovery. And when you are facing this fact that I'm like saying, you can be like, damn, if I'm tall and I have like long arms like this is a real scale. This is necessary. Yeah, I'm sorry, but if you're looking like this, you may be feeling like shit. You may be like, I'm doomed. Why should I even try if my physical potential is this? Well, I have a second answer of what the physical potential is about, and it's also about the adaptivity of the body, how you can manage to change your body parameters through work and time. I have a first instance of a 1 meter 80 centimeters athlete, which name is Vincent Cali, a French athlete, that could go from this to this within 2 years. I haven't asked him directly, but there is easily 4 to 6 kilograms of difference from this picture to this one. There's also a kind of well-known athlete, Livan from France also, that within 3 years could kind of double in size, quite literally. And you could be like, but these guys are freaking gifted. Like, even if he's tall, he has the genetic for this. Well, I have an answer to this. Me. Yeah, this is me. 6 years ago, by the end of a year and a half of calisthenics, this is how I could look like. I wasn't able to hold the straddle planche, however. This was like the hardest variation I could do, and I wasn't able to hold it. It was like dead stop at the maximum. You can see like the blur here. And by the end of a year of work, I could go on a bad form full planche that wasn't hold neither. If we talk about clean performances in this point in time, by the end of 2 years and a half of calisthenics, close to 3 years, I'm 16. I hold maybe 3 seconds of straddle to press, and that's it. I'm not like stronger than this by the end of 2 years and a half of calisthenics. But what is interesting to look at is that I worked pretty hard for about a year, and I inputted this work with my obsession, and this created physical adaptation. It in the end enabled me to change what we could call as physical potential, and it reconfigured my structural levers, a bit of my muscles. My nervous system recovery also could adapt through hard work. And by the end of less than a year, I've been from this to this. We can see like there's no way to compare. Like, look at the arms. This is nonsense. There's a bit of the angle, but still, you can also see the thickness of my back. And in terms of performances, I went from a barely like full press bat form with no dead stop, nothing, just a bat form full press to 111 in relatively clean form. Not perfect, really far from perfect, but relatively clean form. And so, yeah, this is the first like axis of what your potential is. But something quickly after this moment cracked, literally, my shoulder. And I went from like, 111 in full planche to quite nothing within a month. And after this, I spent months and months of trying to recover from the injury. And what was missing in this moment wasn't obsession or physical potential. I could adapt. What was simply missing was on the other side of the potential, which is the mental one. What was missing was clarity. It was the ability to say like, okay, maybe I've been pushing quite hard for a couple months. I could transcend my potential. Within a year, I've made so freaking incredible progress. Maybe I should slow down a bit or look at things otherwise. I didn't, and I ended up injured. And so this is a part of what your mental potential is. What most people know only is this: having the vision to transcend and to push doors. This is what people are mainly using their obsession, their fuel for. They're like only brute forcing, like focused and transcend and all this stuff. They're focused on this, but they're not able to input anything in clarity and to stop themselves when necessary, to take a step back and look at things around, being like, okay, within less than a year, I've been from this to this. It necessarily costs something to some extent. And crack. Yeah. And to come back on what the mental potential is, these two things are two components of the mental potential, but these are not the two components. The mental potential is not only about clarity and having the vision to transcend. It's about a lot of little stuff that I even don't think about right now. We have, for instance, questions like, how much am I ready to give for this? How much am I ready to sacrifice? There is also questions like, for how long do I see myself doing that? It's about knowing what you want. And in the end, all this comes to how do you think as an individual, not as an athlete. It all comes to what kind of, Valentin mentioned, maturity. What kind of maturity do you have toward your practice of calisthenics? Because it's a balance between these two states. It's kind of hard to imagine, but you have to be as obsessed as much as you have sometimes to be like, okay, I just have to step back and maybe something is not working. Maybe there's a reason. As much as sometimes just completely like forgetting about rationality and completely going fully into it. And you could be like, but how do I know? Well, this comes with experience. Simply, it comes with time, experiences, knowing how you think you function as an individual. You have to know yourself, because it's not as simple as knowing when you have to push through when you're not sure. It's about knowing what kind of pattern is occurring in your head. I'll try to give you a little example. Maybe you remember this moment in which you unlocked your first skill. If it was freaking hard by the end of long weeks of trying and not really succeeding, what enabled you to unlock was the vision to transcend and give your whole, even if you're not sure. Maybe you were thinking about injury, maybe you were scared, and maybe not. And you know, what I'm trying to say is that you have to observe yourself and understand under which kind of situation, which kind of events, it's a sequence of events, it's called patterns, in which kind of patterns you could have a certain behavior that could enable you to progress. It's this kind of stuff that you have to look at. And it's really complicated. I think this is a whole other video on its own. But the point is here. You have from a side the physical potential, and we could see that it's most likely the easiest one in reality. What really is hard is the mental one. It's about balancing everything, knowing yourself, in putting time. And as I could mention in the previous video, progress and everything in life is not something you can achieve as like a course. It's not like you have this step, you have this step, you have this step, and then you've achieved what you wanted to achieve in the end. It's about achieving things in your way, for your specificities, and in like the order that you are meant for. Maybe this is not clear enough, and I'm scared I cannot explain more clearly. All this can be overwhelming, but the point is that first you gain awareness of it. Like from the moment you gain the awareness, the will to progress toward this, to be like, okay, maybe I'll try to think a bit more and develop this side of thing, like mental potential. You are on the way, and this is what matters. Don't give up. See a bit more long term than you will, and you will get result without even thinking about it. I'll just close the video with the citation from Valentin in the very same interview, and I hope that you enjoy the whole thing. I thank you for watching, and I hope that you spend your time mindfully. See you.
The difference between a pro and an elite is only inside. It's not physical. So to reach a certain point, you can go with only your body, but there are certain performances that you don't do with your arm, you do it with your head.